we've got it on the.
Supposed to be here.
So now you can
Who's gonna fill in for Doug?
on face and say got it. His shoulder up on the big screen.
Oh. We've got it.
Supposed to be here.
Now you can-
Who's gonna fill in? Sorry, I'm kind of echoing happening.
his shoulder up on the big screen.
We said 10 seconds. We've got it.
This Sherry.
You're on delay. You're just on delay.
You're like, I'm in now. You're like.
You're just so smart, you think it, and also you say it, but you think you said it.
Got it?
So,
No, I think it's good now, maybe.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order. First on the agenda, we have the approval of minutes dated September 13th, 2021. If anyone wants to make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
One thing on there.
Yep.
And I don't know what I said, but on there. It says fence the dog park, Great Coast Dog Park, and on the major plan it says.
Oh, that's not
fence.
minutes.
Oh,
That's
I
separate
know,
from the
I know,
minutes.
I know.
So let's cut.
But
can we
the
cover it?
minutes say it's the whole thing.
Okay.
And what I meant to say was, just fence a portion of it or the back half, which it says on the master plan. So I don't know if I said that or didn't say it, but
Okay.
I listened to the meeting to do the minutes, so whatever's in the minutes is what's.
I probably said that.
So, yeah.
I didn't mean to say that, though.
So now is your clarification from.
Well, I don't know if you can go back and change that.
Okay. Okay, does anyone want to second?
Second.
Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone,
Oh.
anyone opposed? All right, nobody opposed, so we're gonna move on to topics from the floor, from anyone not on the agenda. We don't have any visitors online or in the meeting today. That's weird.
Rare.
Yeah, strange, but okay. So nothing there. We're gonna keep moving right on through and go to new business. First up, we have introduced Parks and Rec Admin Assistant Erin Bird.
Yeah, so this is our new Parks and Rec Admin Assistant, Erin Bird. She's actually been with Recreation for the past almost year. She's been the one who has created the Nature Buddies program and several others, and has been a really great asset, especially during the pandemic, coming up with different ideas. So she also takes care of our special use permits, our reservations. She's new to living in St. Helens, but she came to us from Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District. So she's been able to bring some cool ideas for that and really focuses on the early learning stuff. This was a 3-year position that was approved through the ARPA funds. And so that's how we're funding this position. And we're just super excited to have her. She's also going to be taking over as the Parks and Trails Commission Secretary. So I'm sure Sherry will be helping us out here because it seems like there's a lot to do. We don't want to throw Erin in today. So we have Lisa and Sherry here supporting with that. But yeah, I feel please welcome her because she'll be working a lot with her with your volunteer parties and things like that. Her office is over at the Parks office in the front office there. So yeah, so if you hear her voice on the phone, this is Erin.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
We have so much recording stuff we have to do now that she's now gonna be doing what I'm doing and sending you guys meeting notices and stuff. And I'm gonna be still here doing what Lisa's been doing.
Okay, so we won't lose you. Awesome.
No, we're just gaining another alternate.
Cool. So question, Shauna, when we're emailing you random things or forms and stuff, should we email you and Erin?
Yeah, that would be great. We
Okay.
work really well together and come up with the different forms and stuff. So yeah, that's totally appropriate.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, next up, we have term expirations. Carrie, did you put that on there?
Yes, Ron expires at the end of this year, and he already said he would like to do another term.
Okay.
And then,
Got my notes.
oh, Lisa, you expire. Would you like to do another term too?
We got her on the spot.
Pressure's on.
Oh, man. Can I think about it? I thought for some reason it was next year, so. Actually, no, I don't think I will.
Okay,
I mean, it's awesome. I like all you guys.
Yeah, you leave us.
But yeah.
I will let Kathy know and she can advertise. And then if you guys would like to vote on reappointing John, please.
Okay. Does anyone-
I'll make a motion to reappoint John.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, you're back, John.
You go
Thank
first.
you.
I guess we never asked you.
Does that go to city council for,
I'll
okay,
send it to Kathy and council will vote on it.
okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you. All right, next we have disc golf course feedback. Oh, that was something I put down. I was in another meeting a couple of weeks ago and there was someone there who has been pretty involved with the disc golf course. And she mentioned issues with like trash cans and stuff and then wanting more trash cans out there. I just put it on here in case she reached out to contact me again, because I gave her my contact information and to see if she would come and she didn't. So I don't have much other details on it, but I wanted to get it on the agenda just in case. So is it okay if I coordinate with you, Shauna, if she follows up and give you more info? It was more about trash can placement, I think, and full trash cans and that sort of thing, so. Yeah. I don't have anything else beyond that. I was trying to be proactive. Next up is the McCormick Park report, but we're gonna push that to the next meeting, which will be December. So we'll do, so that park report will happen in December. So that'll move to the next meeting. And I'll make sure that gets on the agenda. Yeah, thank you. The next item is the Nob Hill Halloween Town event. I put that on the agenda just for discussion based on conversations I had with Howard between last meeting and this meeting. I just wanted to make sure that it was on here. So if you wanted to talk about that,
I'm glad
Howard.
you did. I said, I'm glad you did. I
Yep.
spaced out about it.
Yeah, so I'll kind of let you take the lead on that, but let me know if you want me to chime in at all.
Okay. I'll try to remain calm. I did give a talk at the city council meeting last week. I'll dive in for so upset with everybody. And one of the things though that I want to do real quickly is read you guys in the Park and Trails Master Plan, what a nature park really is. Nature parks are land set aside for preservation of significant natural resources, remnant landscape, open spaces and visual aesthetics, buffering. They may preserve or protect environmentally sensitive areas such as wildlife habitat, stream and creek corridors, or unique and endangered plant species. Nature parks may vary in size from less than 10 acres to larger up to 200. Nature parks typically serve a community population that includes greenways, natural areas, and preserves. Public access to natural areas may be limited to these sites, which often include wetlands, steep hillsides, and other similar spaces. Some nature parks may be managed secondarily to provide passive recreation opportunities. These sites may contain trails, interpretive displays, viewpoints, and scenic areas. We were just a little bit shocked to learn the day before that it was happening that for 7 weekends, 45 days, that they're turned it into a Halloween town event. And up there, they were averaging 50 to 100 people per hour going through the nature park. And, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. If you're just saying 50 people per hour, that's almost 350 people a day. And over the course of the event, it could be as many as 5,000. Me and Caroline really do enjoy that we're getting the publicity for the park, but our real questions start to become, that's almost 2 or 3 years worth of usage in the park on the trail system, graveling. And my question is, with that much usage, what's in it for the park? They screwed things into the trees, into the oak trees. We're only talking 8 heads, fake ivy. But, we enjoy showing the park off to people, but we never imagined I can't can't even remember another time that we've ever had one of our parks, let alone a nature park, have that type of usage. You know, and there is an impact on it. You may not think so.
The corner gets that quite a bit.
What?
The corner gets that in quite a bit.
Yeah, but that's, you know, a different type of park. You know, we're only 6.5 acres, so, you know, it's I've been noticing even when I was home today, that a lot of people that normally were walking the park daily aren't.
Right, the thing is, do we really want to put restrictions on who can visit and who can't visit the park? Or how many people we can have in it? Or
Well, what is the purpose of a nature park? We've always believed a nature park was there. Number one was the environment, the animals, the wildlife.
But it's there for the people who see and enjoy.
Not if you really get into it. It's here, it says trails are secondary. So, you know, if there was a reason in there that something was going on in the nature park, what this has done was it's raised the bar a little bit, the questions that I was gonna have to, thinking what we're gonna have to go down in the future with. But if we're expecting like, oh, wow, that's no problem, we could have these people in there. We gotta start thinking, I'm not doing anything on the Halloween festival, kind and respectful and everything else. But we do have areas that are starting, people are going off trail, starting to where you see the camas meadows and the attractive vegetation. If it's really truly a nature park, these are the things that we have to be protecting. You know what I mean? You don't wait till the camas meadow is totally destroyed and figure out, geez, that camas meadow went away, how do we make it come back? So if we're gonna start doing this type of usage in a nature park, we need to start thinking about it. You know, all the gravel in there is hand spread by a wheelbarrow. My question is, with all these people, are we gonna get help to re-gravel the trails this year? From all the, you know, all the gravel that's getting moved around? Some of the trails probably should have had more gravel on them before this event even started. The one steep hill, you've got a lot of roots, you've got rocks that are sticking up this much higher. There's about 40 feet that we just hadn't, which is extremely hard to get to, that we never got gravel on. Then I'm trying to figure out if we would have known that we were gonna have this type of usage. Those are all liabilities to have big rocks sticking up in a trail, especially if you're putting 50 to 100 people per hour over a trail. That is having an impact on it, you know, so that's what I'm saying.
But at the same time, we don't want to limit it. How many of these people that came, try to come back with their families to show them this neat park that's there? You know, that they never would have seen if it wouldn't have been for this event.
Okay, I'm not saying that that's bad, but what I'm saying is that if we're increasing the usage exponentially right now, then there's things that we have to do to accommodate those people, to make sure that sensitive areas aren't going to be disturbed. You know, and this was something I was hoping we were gonna put down the road, but if we're all of a sudden gung ho, we gotta get as many people through the park as we can and make all types of special events, then we have to move ahead with some of these ideas sooner than later to protect the environment.
I have a couple questions, and obviously I always have comments, opinions. So what was the number of people that have gone through it?
Well, I was there on a Sunday and I went in at a little before noon and stood around for an hour with a clicker, and I counted 100 people in an hour. And I went back around 3 on a Sunday afternoon, and there was once again 100 people per hour. That's why I say my calculations of saying that I'll knock it down to 50 people per hour and even knock an hour or 2 hours off. And it's still a phenomenal amount of people going through what you would call a nature park, you know.
Okay, next question I have. Now, did the Kiwanis Club, did they provide support for the event?
They mainly just have somebody sitting down at the bottom that meets and greets the people on the coming on the bus. They have a bus running as fast as it can go, carries 14 people. And as fast as it can drive from one end to the other, it's driving.
Have people gone on way back to the Camas Meadow?
No, a few people do get off trail a little bit. Some people are getting off the edges a little bit more. We do have a lot of wildflowers that will come up right on the edges of where the gravel used to be.
Are there signs that say stay on the trail?
Yes.
Are they fairly frequent?
Yes. And they finally got poison oak spelled correctly.
Okay, that's good. Well, my feeling is, I'm kind of with Jacob on this, the spirit, even though I don't participate, I'm not much of a holiday person, but, I don't participate in the spirit of Halloween. But I see that as a real positive thing for our city. I really do. I see the park as an instrument to use to celebrate that. So mitigation, I understand how much time and work and energy, you put into that. I think putting the mask on I've been gone forever. I just got back. So I was gonna go down there and look at it and I got called away. And, a nail in the tree, not gonna hurt the tree. Some fake ivy on the tree is not gonna hurt it. If people are off the trails and stomping around in the native vegetation, it's gonna hurt. So, that could be mitigated, by signs. And I know that not everyone's gonna follow the signs, but it can be mitigated by signs. And maybe a more active, Kiwanis Club, besides just sitting at the bottom, I don't know how big this trail is. I mean, I've been to that park hundreds of times, not 1,000 times, but I don't know what trails they walk through there because I didn't go down there and look at it like I told you I was, because I left immediately. But, I would think that the person that's monitoring that situation should be up there. Not at the bottom, because when the bus shows up, the bus driver can say, hey, you need to stay on the trails. We have a monitor up there. If you get off the trails, you'll be asked to go back.
Or what if you put
Let me finish, Jacob, real quick, and then I'll be through with my ideas, and then you can throw yours in there. I'm real sensitive about the Camas Meadows because, the people that had the house up there by the 4th Street, that thing, and then the city's destroyed all the Camas Meadows around Highway 30, which was a tragedy between, but, there could, the Camas Meadows it's way back there. I know that. I don't even know if it's near the trail, but maybe there should be signs that say, Camas Meadow, sensitive, habitat, please do not enter. So my feeling is that the park should be open for this type of activity. It maybe better needs to be supervised in various ways because we don't want them to destroy a nature park. I understand your feelings on that. So that's kind of my take on it, that yes, it should be there, but we should do a better job maybe of handling the crowds. So my recommendation would be if they drive a bus up there every how many minutes?
As fast as they can go.
Right, it's one bus, right?
4 to 6 times per hour at least.
Okay, so the bus driver should be instructed to tell the kids the participants to stay on the trail. And then if there's a Kiwanis person there, which there should be, if there's not a Kiwanis person there, then the trail doesn't go. Maybe, that's just, hey, that's part of the deal, because otherwise it will get trashed. And then the person that's doing the supervising, take a more active role in the supervision rather than sitting down at the bottom. Go ahead, Jacob. That's all I got.
I was just thinking, maybe take some rope and rope the trail up, make a boundary for the trail, stay on this side of the road. Please don't cross the road.
That's a good idea.
The other one is too, that just 7 weeks. I mean, this is one of the next to spring is one of the most beautiful times of the year to be up there. And it's a fair once again to our locals, for our locals to get chased out of the city park for 7 weeks.
If this is one of the most beautiful times of the year, wouldn't we want to show it off to everybody? Not just St. Helens, but everybody that comes.
But if
agree.
you,
Our
but if
locals
you
should
talk
still
to
go to
people
it.
about an actual nature park, this isn't really what a nature park is designed for, is to have a huge event and draw thousands of people into it. So is it a true nature park, or is this just becoming a city park that it's all after as many people as we can pump through it?
This is for one event for the year.
And it's and I haven't seen any deer up there lately or anything, because
In my yard, and the apples.
every weekend for 8 hours a day, There's hundreds of people going through the park. It used to be if you walk through the park, the deer move over here, and you came up this way, they move back. But when you have an entire circle for hours on end, the wildlife is moving.
That's part of our park system is to draw people in. We want to.
Yeah, if we're gonna make a motion, I'll make a
Your
motion.
master plan, that's not what this park is supposed to be.
You wanna say some things, Carmen?
It's special. It's special.
So we just keep it to ourselves?
No, we watch
Sorry, you
how,
can't
we
come on our
don't do it. We don't run a high impact event for 7 weeks is what it comes down to. 2 or 3 weekends would be more than adequate. But when you do 7 weekends, 45 days, that's a huge amount of an impact in a nature area. You talk to anybody that's in a nature park theme and stuff, they're appalled that this would take place in a nature park.
But when did Halloween Town start?
It didn't become big until 12, 15 years ago.
I'm talking, it don't start till like end of September. beginning of October.
Started on what, the 18th, 2 weeks into September, 7
But
weeks
the-
this year.
I would say the usage at this level was not at the beginning.
Right.
For first weekend and a half.
Yeah.
Ever
yeah.
since then, it's just been getting more and more. And if you have a beautiful weekend, it's even worse. And
So can I provide some feedback too? I know everyone's kind of had a chance to
Uh-huh.
talk. So I like the idea of doing the signage, the stay on the trail signage. So it's not just stay on the trail, but like, this is why we want you to stay on the trail and really informing
This is
people.
a nature
So
park.
that when they're going through, they can learn that, oh, this is a camas meadow over here, or there's wildflowers that grow right along here. And people don't know that unless you tell them. So that's one way to kind of inform people.
Uh-huh.
So I think that would be really positive. And I think that is not specific to this event because you brought that up multiple times before about people staying on the path and going up into the Camas Meadow area and kind of making their own path. So I think that goes outside of this event specifically, but I think it would be a value add to the park. The other piece that I think related to this event specifically is that I think had we known that this event was gonna happen in advance, we would have had feedback that maybe this isn't the type of event that's really consistent with a nature park, the whole like putting tree faces, screwing them into trees and having sounds play that are not nature sounds when it's a nature park. Like to me, that doesn't seem like an event that's consistent with a nature park.
There you go.
But I think we could help guide in the future to plan an event that goes along maybe with Halloween Town to get people to the park,
Okay.
but have it be more consistent with a nature park. So maybe it's having people spot things, I don't know, something related to a nature park type event so that people are going through and learning about a nature park and what's there rather than like playing noises that might scare off wildlife. So that's my feedback on it. I think it would be nice to be involved, but I also think it's great that we're getting
Oh, yeah.
people in the park. Like that's really positive. And had another thing, had we known in advance that this was gonna happen, like we could have planned to have people there on the weekends from either the Parks Commission or the Friends of group to try to inform people about the park a little bit more and like be a resource and help guide people to stay on path and that sort of thing. So I think there's a few things we can't really fix it for the past, but I think it would be good for us to be involved for future events, either there and then at other parks too, when this type of thing comes up, just making sure that events being held in our parks are consistent with what the purpose of the park is. So that's my feedback and I will let y'all continue and make motions as you see fit.
I would just like to add something too, Carmen. I had a meeting with Howard and Mohammed and Doug, and that's exactly what we had came up with for future events is having those conversations with the new parks with the Parks and Trail Master or Parks and Recreation Master Plan, having those things laid out too on what type of tourism things, what time would be good for those parks and stuff. I know that this is a passion of a lot of people with the nature park, but I also agree that people have seen the parks that normally would have never gone up there. I've gotten great feedback from folks. The way that they were mounted on the trees and stuff is something in the future that will be different. I did not put on this event, but I am trying to kind of troubleshoot with everyone for things. I probably get 2 to 4 emails a day from folks who aren't a part of St. Helens that are concerned. So I'm assuming people that Howard have talked to, other nature park types of folks that are concerned about it. I do know like in Hillsborough, their wetlands, they do Halloween stuff through it. So I do know some parks that aren't necessarily a McCormick Park or something that still do activities through it to bring in groups of people. So I think troubleshooting and the pre-planning ahead of time, I think is important. I think it's also important to remember that the public or the parks are public parks. So not necessarily is every event gonna come to say, like last weekend, we had a softball tournament and a disc golf tournament at McCormick Park. We've had cross-country meets, those sort of things. That would be really cumbersome if I brought each one of those to you all to see if they're approved or not. So, yeah, so we'll just have to troubleshoot and see what the best way for that is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I think also like the types of events that could come to us for feedback is the type of things where public where public should maybe provide some feedback on if events are kind of on the right track, if this is the right park for it, like things where it's a little bit questionable or we want public input, because that's the point of this commission, is to be like the voice of the public, to be able to guide and provide feedback and provide input. And so I think like obviously cross-country events and things like that, that's not the kind of stuff that we need to provide feedback on, but things like this, I think it would be.
I think our overall goal is to get people in the park,
Oh,
not
right.
tell them they can't be in our parks.
I never
Agreed.
said that, I mean, enjoy or not, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately with bringing people in the parks, there are gonna be some times where things do get trampled or, we need to bring in extra gravel, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Totally understand, and those are things that, and things are gonna get more popular out here as we develop the waterfront. A lot of people like to come here on the weekends to do things and stuff, so.
And I can see why they use Nob Hill, because it's close to everything down here. So,
Yeah,
all the businesses down here, which brings in money, and all the restaurants that bring in money.
I haven't walked through there, so I'm gonna do that. Well, I'll leave it again here. Maybe I'll try to walk through it. But
I was suggesting.
So, like-
the trail off for now.
so like,
Just rope the trail.
so like is Godfrey, could this event be held as successfully? I'm not talking about transportation, it's a little bit farther. Could this event be held at Godfrey Park?
I think that this event be up for discussion for the future on what, I'm not sure what all the things that went into this event, so I couldn't say that yes or no.
I haven't seen what they're done, but I think McCormick Park would be a great park for like a Halloween event.
I offered McCormick Park, but then there's also the disc golf player, so we just have to be, so going forward, there's a new plan, everybody's aware of how this needs to be communicated, so I don't see going forward this being as much of a surprise as it was to a lot of folks, but I think it's really important to remember that it's a public park too. We all have ownership in it, we all get to have events there, and we don't get to pick and choose necessarily.
I'll just leave with this, but it's a philosophical question in a way, because Howard says, okay, this is a nature park. So it should be treated, as a nature park. It's right next to where St. Helens is gonna have a large development, I hope, in the next 5 to 10 years. So there's gonna be a lot of people using that park. So even though it's a nature park, as I said before, can an event like this be held with mitigating circumstances, roping off part of the trail, having the bus driver give instructions, having the Rotary, be actively engaged in there, having signs that says this is a nature park, it's very important for you to stay on the trails. I know Howard's put a lot of time and effort in this. I know philosophically this is a nature park to him, and he does not want it to be destroyed. I haven't been up there, and I will go look at it, but as I know that this has a lot of potential for damage to take place, but has there been damage done so far? Howard?
Just trails are getting a little bit wider, people always will push the outside envelope of how wide a trail is. You know, and then just,
So the trails have gotten wider so
yeah,
far.
and the gravel was moving around a lot, you know. I've gone in 2 or 3 times already at the top of the stairs and swept the gravel off because it's a steep hillside coming down towards the top of the stairs, you know, and so I've actually been shoveling the gravel back and I've been blowing the trails off.
And I can see the
back
animals.
So that you don't get all that compost into the trail and then the gravel has more meat.
And I can see the animals also, you know, at least the deer, you know, the ones that have the ability to move long distances, maybe move back to 6th Street or away from the main park. You know, I think, you know, the spirit of Halloween is really important for our town.
Yeah.
And it might be more, you know, that might be more important as long as we mitigate the situation.
And one thing to take note of is Aaron and I are working on new special use permitting stuff. I mean, we came into things that were already formatted, and so looking into when people are reserving parks, what sort of things, because over a certain amount of people in certain parks, you have to do this or have to do this. And so I think Jerry's points are very valid with, you know, having volunteers and that sort of thing. But I definitely think that it can only get better from here with knowing, you know, things happen that I thought we had discussed and we were all good there, and then it keeps getting brought up at every meeting, so I'm just not sure where we are with the resolution to it. But I thought the resolution that we had came up with is with the new master plan that we were gonna work through what that all looked like. So is there any other resolution that you were looking for today, Howard, or did you just want to let them be aware of what was
Mainly just
happening right now? And
aware what was going on. I'm trying to figure out where I want to, I've got about a minute more's worth of what I want to mention here
Okay.
too, on things that I mentioned to the city council Parks and Trails master plan. And some of that goes back to like installing a covered kiosk at the main entrance in the park would help Friends of Nob Hill manage the ongoing maintenance of this park. It also on another spot says Friends of Nob Hill maintain this park. So there's a bunch of things in the Parks and Trails master plan that really, I will say, that over the years, the Friends group, we consult with people, many different organizations about the decisions that we make in the park. And when the Parks and Trails master plan was developed, they realized that we have a lot to offer in the way that we know about what a nature park should be, what we're trying to do. Where the city has never really had anybody involved in knowing what should be going on in a nature park. You know, we consult with Columbia Soil and Water, Scappoose Bay Watershed Council, past watershed people, many people, and other things. So we do kind of know what we're talking about. That's why it's kind of hard when, oh, you're in, you know, Sill City Park, you can do what you want to, but in reality, even said in the Parks and Trails master plan, it does give us a little bit of a thing that we're there to help guide the park and the nature in. So that's all I have to say now.
yeah, and these will definitely be things with the new Parks and Recreation master plan as we look at each park, what their purpose is for the city, how the Friends groups play a role in that, what kind of kiosk type things will all be revisited so that we do have a good 5, 10, 20-year plan going forward.
Because we do enjoy showing people.
Oh, for sure.
That's why I pour so much into it.
And there's a lot of people who are really enjoying it. So I'm really glad to hear that there hasn't been a lot of impact, but I do understand the concern for future impact and making sure that we have a better plan next time.
And Howard, I know that isn't there a work party on November 6th?
That's what I was gonna bring up.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I was
if-
gonna do that at the kind of.
If like mitigating impacts, like if there's something that can be focused on, or if we can recommend the city provide like more gravel or something for that work party so that the trail can be used gravel. or-
Yeah, it just depends how many people we would have come, because sometimes we don't really, till people all show up, we don't know exactly how many people could show up. That is one of the things, we still got a small pile of gravel in an area that if we ended up with too many volunteers, that shovel things around and, suddenly do a little bit different, but we were planning to do a lot of weeding, because we have
Okay.
two work parties this year. We have one in the morning that Emily from the Watershed Council is doing, that's gonna be more along the Fifth Street right-of-way trail, where they're hoping to put in 200 plants, and that's going from 9 until 12.
Okay.
And then me and Caroline do our standard one that we usually do from 1 until 4, and we're gonna be in more of a park proper weeding and pulling ivy and blackberries from areas that we just haven't gone through lately.
Okay.
And, you know, we've also possibly, through Patrick, he said that he may know somebody who could give us some money towards future spraying of invasives. Ideas, so.
Okay, I was just thinking, because you mentioned that gravel was becoming,
Yeah.
like the gravel on the path was becoming
Yeah,
an issue, so
yeah.
if there's anything that we could do to request
Yeah.
from the city to provide for that event to help, then.
That's, you know, that's something that I probably need to talk to Shauna about, because I don't want to go there that much.
Okay.
The Third Street trailhead, I've sort of had problems with the neighbors who want to stay down in that area.
Okay.
But we can talk off camera about that. It's a whole
Okay.
messed up situation. I love a mediator. If the city has a mediator, I would love a mediator to try to mediate between us and a neighbor at the end of the street, because it's stressing the
That's a
neighborhood out.
separate issue though, so I'll take that out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So is there anything else that anyone wants to say on the Halloween Town event for Nob Hill? If not, we'll move to the next item. Okay, so next is the upcoming work party at the Botanical Gardens. So Jerry and I had talked about this a little bit at the end of, after the meeting ended last time, and we were looking at calendars, and we were thinking we'd like to have an event at the Botanical Gardens on November 20th. So I was gonna fill out the form and send that to you, Shauna, and I can send it to Erin too. We were thinking we'd have like the pre-meeting at 9:15 and then start work at 9:30 to noon, and then potentially do pizza after, again, kind of like how we did at our last one. So just wanted to put that out there for everybody, give everybody the heads up, and then give you the heads up, Shauna, that form will be coming soon unless you see any issues with that.
I think that works just great. Yes, send it to me and Erin will get social media stuff about it and
Okay. Awesome, sounds good. Jerry, you want to add?
Yeah, Carmen is gonna contact Emily Martin about, you know, it's Spacey. So I was up there yesterday and walked around and looked at the park. And the work that was done in the fall, was it the fall? When did we do that? Spring?
Spring.
Spring,
Spring,
yeah.
we did the spring.
Now it's
The
fall.
trails are the best they've been in years. I mean, it's just amazing how good the trails are. And the area that Emily organized to clean off the ivy, it's amazing. I just can't believe what a difference that makes. So Carmen and I, we'll pick up garbage. There's not much there. Hopefully it'll stay that way. We'll probably have some people maybe weed around the trails again, but the trails are in good shape. But the majority of time we want to spend, you know, getting rid of invasive species.
Yeah, it's amazing how big of a difference that made, and that it didn't just, all the ivy just didn't come back. That's kind of what I expected, walking through to see it, you know, creeping back in, but it really made a difference, so.
Yeah, so
It's cool.
Ivy's the one that you always have to keep after, because
Yeah.
that's why we're gonna walk over where we are in Mount Hills, because it's just, it always keeps trying to come back. Birds keep spreading the berries.
Yeah, I mean, I expected it to be back sooner, I guess, so it was pretty cool to see how well the work has been kind of
what a
maintained.
difference it made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made a huge difference. Huge difference.
Right.
And not only that too, the poison oak that was sprayed,
Mhm.
you know, it took it a long time to die.
Yeah.
But we just, Emily told us to leave the poison oak because it's a good habitat for the birds and the animals, and they eat the berries and all that stuff. I didn't know that. But we did spray the poison oak next to the trails, and it's dead now.
Yeah.
You know, took a long time for it to
Wow.
die, but it died.
How's the underneath it though?
The what?
The vegetation underneath the poison oak, is it coming back pretty good though?
You know, there's just the places I can think about, Howard, there was grass there next to the trail, and the grass is,
Because in our
Yeah, I
park, we
haven't-
usually sprayed in the fall for the poison oak, because the birds would be down at that time.
I might borrow the sprayer again, Shauna, I don't know, but things look pretty good.
Next on the agenda, we have the RFP Parks and Rec Master Plan.
So Matt and I actually are working on this. So we have the RFP here that we're hoping, with your recommendation today, that we can go ahead and push it on to the council. Had a chance to review it, but this is the RFP for going out for a bid for a company to do the master plan for us. So Parks and Rec Master Plan request for proposal. So we were just wondering if you all had any questions about this. Both Matt and I are here to answer any that you have. And this is just to go out to find what service we're going to use to do the pieces of it, because it will be a pretty intense plan. So I'm really excited for it. So this will be the first time I've been involved in something this large, but it will we'll have some community engagement times. We'll have looking at like the census, that sort of thing, how many parks we can have, what the parks should have, and that sort of thing. So you all probably were maybe around when they did the last RFP, or I'm sorry, the last Parks and Recreation Master Plan, but that was done in-house. This will be a little bit more expensive than that. So, and Jenny did an amazing job at it, but it's
Yeah, who'd you say
a lot, right?
who put together the RFP?
Matt and I did.
Yeah, I read it and it looked like what they were doing.
There will need to be some minor updates. We noticed some of the dates. We had anticipated this coming earlier. And then a couple of small changes. Talking about the park journals, mentions and discussions. There's some minor changes there.
This is just send out a proposal.
What's that?
You just want to send us out a proposal of how much it's like, all your cost.
So they'll be putting together a new master plan.
So this will be the proposal to have a company come in and say, hey, we'll take the job, and then they'll do all the work on putting together the master plan with engagement from all of us and community outreach and stuff, but
This is just a guide for the companies to
yes.
submit a proposal.
Yeah, so this is just kind of what we're looking for in a company, and the project is description, sorry, I can't speak today. Time period, like that sort of thing, but like Matt said, the time period will need to be updated because yeah, just the fall really happened. Here we are.
If we have, as we read through it, like, I want to read through it in more detail. If we have feedback, when would you like to receive feedback by? Fine.
It needs to be to Kathy by Wednesday,
Okay,
to be included in the packet. So if it's to probably me is the easiest.
okay,
Probably by Wednesday, late morning.
okay.
So Matt, question I have is, when you put this together, RFP, you're not putting ideas in any of the companies, you're not putting ideas in their head, you're just giving them a guideline so that they can give an honest appraisal of, or did you guys say, I read through it before the meeting, but so you guys aren't saying you want this done, you're just putting a guideline out and these different companies will come up with their different plans.
We're putting the guidelines in of what our expectations are and what we want them to look at. So we give them kind of a general scope. And then that's what we put out publicly for a company to come in and say, yes, I can do that for X amount of dollars. And here's my company, here's what we do, here's other plans that we've done, and then we rate them based on.
Oh, they won't give you a plan before you select the company? Okay.
This is, we're trying to select a company to help us come up with a plan.
So when you
This is
do,
at the very beginning of, so they're not gonna do any of the work like at the parks or anything, but they're gonna help us come up with a plan so they
Right.
can kind of steer us into.
so once you pick the company to make the plan,
Yes, I know, it's a.
then who's going to put guidelines with that company? the public,
Guidelines for what?
the staff.
What do you mean by guidelines?
Well, okay, you select a company. Okay, this is the company that's going to plan for the future of our parks and recreation. Okay, this is the company that's going to do it. So is the general public going to get to submit ideas? Is the
Yeah,
staff going to get to put ideas in? Are they going, is the company you select get to put ideas in?
so there will be numerous public engagement events one for staff, one for you as a commission. We'll probably a multitude of ones for the public to be engaged and come and say, hey, I want this in this park. Oh, I don't like this in this park, or I don't use this park. I don't care. Or, we should have this. So those are the engagement ideas that they will.
See, I thought that the company was going to, that you selected was already going to have the ideas laid out.
No, so this would be similar to like a waterfront project, you know how there's been so many community engagements and kind of like, oh, we don't like this, but we like this. So it's more so like that than instead of like when we did the playground and they came with 3 designs and then we picked from there. So it's more of an engagement piece that from our perspective of what needs to be done, then that's how they create their proposal for what the Parks and Rec master plan, is that right, Matt? And then, yeah, so we will have a huge say in what we want on there and what we don't, but they will collect all of the census information and the state information and all of that and come in with like the nitty gritty numbers of what we need to do for parks and stuff. And then we can kind of say, well, not kind of, but our community engagement ones will say what our actual needs are. And it'll be like a 5-10 year process. Like what the plan looks like in 5 years, what we hope to accomplish, what we hope to accomplish in 10 years, and that sort of thing.
Hopefully they'll look at the old plan to see, you know, to kind of carry on forward some of the ideas that were set forth in that plan.
Some of them.
Because some of it's just updated, you know, updating the plan.
Yeah.
What it is.
And a lot of it is, we're doing a master plan too, because a lot of those plans have changed. A lot of those things that we thought we were in that plan, we're not moving forward. So that's why we revisit master plans every 5 to 10 years,
Okay.
depending on what the project is, water, sewer, streets,
Uh-huh.
parks. And then the company usually has lots of experience doing master plans in other communities, so they just kind of got practices from those agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, to look at other avenues for staffing, funding, any kind of best practices for parks in general and recreation.
And page 3 will go over a lot of that in their needs assessment. They'll be reviewing the current parks master plan, looking at different kind of framework plans that we have. And then that's they'll, you know, that kind of gives them the base, and then we go from there. So page 3 has a lot of information and answers a lot of the questions that we're talking about. And then, of course, this is just the plan, not the funding piece. And so then from there, that's what they help us with too, is looking at different funding options. And, you know, and then when we go out for grants, we already have it written in there that we want to do this at this parks. Is a lot easier to go out for grants because we have an idea of what we're needing and stuff,
So typically, when we go out for an RFP, we have a rating committee that rates all the proposals that come back. Typically, we like to include at least one person from the commission as part of that group. So if you want to have somebody, typically it's the chair, but it can be someone different. We try not to put too many people in because we don't want a rating committee of 15 people. So typically it's 1 or 2 staff members, a commission member, and then a council member. That's what we have done in the past.
Makes sense.
Yeah, a little while to decide who we want that for though. I mean, our representative.
Yeah, if this gets approved next week,
Okay.
you basically have it to your next meeting, because this would be, usually it's about 30 days or so.
We
Sometimes
don't
shorter.
have a November meeting.
I want to think
You
of
might wanna
somebody
think about-
today.
No, it doesn't have to be a decision. I mean, but if you guys don't have a November meeting, I would ask if you choose someone to represent the Parks Commission
And this again is not the whole plan, it's not the whole
Yeah,
master plan, you're
all still
just,
gonna be invited to the public
Yes.
engagement events and
You're
we'll
just picking
probably
what's-
have an engagement event specifically.
My recommendation would be Carmen if she would want to take that job.
Yeah, I'm happy to take it on and
I will
as
second
long
that.
as scheduling.
Then I make a motion that we nominate Carmen to be our representative for the RFP.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Okay, cool.
Trust you.
Thank
you
you.
need a recommendation.
I did have a question about funding. Do we have the funding already?
Yes, actually, so we'll find out the price
Okay,
from the RFP. That's the difference between an RFP and an RFQ. An RFQ is a request for qualifications. We just hear about your agency and what you'd like to do. And then once we pick you, then we negotiate. An RFP is you give us everything about your company and what it's gonna cost. And that's one of the factors of rating. The master plans can be paid from system development charges. So this funding for this project is coming from those SBC fees that developer pay. Funding,
I saw there was a grading system on there
there is.
on page 6. Evaluation criteria.
And then also we will need a formal recommendation of the RFP so that we can take that to.
okay. I do have one more question, just about timeline. So in here it says firm begins project November 2021. Is this like pushed out a month? So that'll be about
Will likely be
December,
pushed out,
January.
yeah, because we're already in October now, so my guess would be December. Might make sense just to say January, just to be safe, because stuff always comes.
Rules of government slowly.
And then, do you have any idea how long these projects typically take? I know they'll respond in their
They'll
RFP.
usually give us a rough timeline in the scope.
Okay,
I could say typically, from what I've seen at other cities, anywhere from 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
Depending on the size of the city and how complex it is.
okay. Thank you. Does anyone want to make a motion to propose, or what are we motioning?
Just approving the master plan to be forwarded to city council.
The RFP?
Oh, I
Okay.
was making, no, wait. We're not talking about this master plan, are we?
No, we're
So-
talking about this RFP.
That's what I thought,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
You're making a
That's not-
recommendation to present it to
I'd like
council.
to make a recommendation that the city council proceed with the RFP plan to look for somebody to update the Parks and Trails master plan.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Awesome. Anything else on the RFP?
Super excited to get this going.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. That's awesome. All right, next up, we have old business master plan ideas list updates. I didn't get to it early, but I got to it late, but the updated document that Sherry provided us is kind of notes from me going through meeting minutes from the beginning of the year forward, and I tried to compile all of that into and add it to the list that Sherry had going, just of the things that have come up in our meetings as far as things that we would want to consider for master plan. Not all of it is the level of like a master plan. Some of it's more of like things we'd like to see in the parks. But all of that is updated. So if you guys have a chance to read through it and then provide additional updates. Obviously, as we just saw in the RFP, there's going to be a lot of community engagement and engagement with us in that master plan update process. So I don't know that we need to dive into all of this now, but just wanted to give you guys a heads up that that list is updated. Gary?
Yeah. Okay, so on Civic Pride Park, Doug wanted native trees planted there, plus other stuff he wanted to do. Like I said, at Great Cliffs Park, we talked about dog park on that behalf. On the second page, trails and pathways, you guys know, my passion is, I'd sure like to see us get that urban trail that we've been talking about for 2 years now. I would like to see that urban trail, be at the top as the first priority on that.
Okay.
Can we do other old business real quick?
Sure.
So after last meeting,
Wait, can we see if anyone else has feedback on master plan ideas with that?
A couple of things that I
Yeah,
wanted to
definitely.
I just think, and I don't know what part they would go in, but I think it would be really awesome if we had a fenced dog area with an agility course in it. And I also think it would be awesome if we could get one of the outdoor adult fitness parks. It would be super expensive, but it's so expensive to join a gym and you don't have, people can't always afford exercise equipment or have the room to store it. And I just think it would help folks, be healthy to just be able to use it in the park and not have to worry about it.
Can you share more about an outdoor adult fitness park?
Oh.
I'm curious about that. Do you have
It's-
like more info on what that entails?
It's basically.
I have a webinar I can send you.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's
super
Look
curious.
into the webinar.
It's amazing.
They're so cool. Matt and I, we're on board with that. So
It looks really, it looks like play equipment for grown-ups, but it's actually, you work out with it. It's,
Okay.
There's one in Hillsborough, I think.
Do you know what the name of it is?
Gosh, off the top of my head, I don't know.
That's fine.
It's,
I'll Google
it's right by the streets in Tannismore.
Okay.
But I see people there all the time and it just looks.
on a field trip again, Carmen.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was a year ago.
Just stick with play equipment for adults.
Yeah. There you go.
What is in McCormick Park then? Don't they have a trail that some group kind of
They
maintains,
have-
some
yeah.
exercise stations?
They
I'll say?
do, and that's really cool, but some of this stuff, it just takes that a little bit beyond.
Yeah.
And it's a little more concentrated, and they also have stuff that you can get that's like someone in a wheelchair could use. It's a lot more, I don't know, user friendly.
Accessible, yeah.
interesting.
That's
I've
cool.
never heard of that.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Really cool.
Something that I would love to see for our teenagers too, because the teenagers really want things to do and they want to play on the McCormick Park playground, but it's not quite structured for their size. So I've been going over to the skate park quite often and talking to the kids over there, asking what sort of things they want to see, and they would love that, or parkour.
Interesting.
That would be awesome.
Cool. Good suggestions.
Yeah.
Also, got an addition, I like to make to the thing, are we done with that part of it right now?
Yes, yes.
And that is, since we're bringing up things, for Nob Hill, I won't say, some way of eventually thinking of some fencing and stuff around some of the sensitive areas, like the Hammond thing. Word that, but ways to protect the environment, to move Nob Hill into the next phase of being a nature park, because when you go to some of them, they sometimes have some pretty interesting stuff in the way they control people and just signage and thoughts about what goes on in the nature park.
Are you thinking like a chain fence?
No, I'm thinking that eventually someday there should be possibly some split rail fencing in some parts of
Just
the
along the
park.
trail?
Yeah, just like where the Camas Meadow is and stuff, just to try to give people more of an idea. I know that it wouldn't keep people back, but it give people the idea that, beyond this is more of a sensitive area that, you just don't go out there because you want to go there. There should be a reason if you're going, because once again, I mean, that's where a nature park differs from a normal park, is that a normal park, people just go everywhere, but in a nature park, keep people a little more on the trails and on the one beaten path, and then also, it is stated in the master plan already that on the end of Third Street, there's a gentleman that owns 2 lots that have nothing. And I still would love to see if there was a way to either get a conservation easement or the city get those 2 lots from him, because that particular area has a lot of canvas in it right now. So that's all I have now.
Howard, do you know of like a good nature park that has fencing around sensitive areas that like come to mind?
I don't know if Kamasia does. I know that been in several back east where they did. And that's where some of it comes from, Rock Creek and Park and I forget a couple of the other ones. But they're going up to the nature center, there's fencing along a lot of the trail. That type of thing.
Okay.
You travel all over these different nature parks,
Yeah.
including Paxton, which is a big national wildlife refuge. Gilbert, that was perfect.
Carmen, two other things on discussion items. So
Okay.
after the last meeting, Howard and I went down to Knob Hill Park to look, this was on the last meeting. We had a discussion about where the bench should go.
Yep.
So Howard and I went down there and we came to an agreement where the bench should go. And then there was two teenage boys going through there, like 15, 16. And we talked to them for a while and asked them where the bench should go and gave them a few choices and they picked the same place we did. So Howard knows where that is. So I'm good with that. I don't think we have to vote with that, but I know that there was a lot of controversy about where that bench should go.
Do we have a form that's filled out or being filled out as to placement and donation or whatever?
Yeah, so I would just like to know where that is.
I can show you, and actually I did talk to the lady from Lion.
Yeah.
Kathy
And I
Thurston.
explained to her and she thought that would be reasonable.
Okay. If you'll just email me the location, Howard,
Okay,
and then I'll get the form started and have, if you are happy me to add anything too, so we can get it approved.
because on that one, I'm hoping that maybe we can get volunteers to build the slab for you guys so that there's no need to feel that we need to take big equipment in there, that we can build the slab that it would take to put the bench in the park, without having equipment going in there to do it.
Yeah, we can talk.
I'll have to show you where it is or whatever. It's a nice little flat place.
The other item I want to talk to you about is grants. Howard's on Knob Hill, I'm on Urban Trail all the time. Carmen's kind of my age there. But I went on the internet and looked at, grants. So what I would like the recommendation is that, the city staff, look into, grants for the urban park. So when I looked on there, first of all, the last administration had what they call the CARES Act for funding, and it was $1.5 million. And one of the things they had there was for trails.
Like the funding is all gone.
So that doesn't surprise me. The new administration is there got legislation for infrastructure. And there is part of that is for trails. So as soon as the new legislation gets passed, probably the $1 trillion one will probably get passed, I would hope. As soon as it gets passed, then I'd recommend that the city staff get on it as fast as they can to see that we could get some money for an urban trail. Another place, and this might be all gone too, Matt, you probably know more about this than I do, was what they call the RTP, which is the Recreational Trails Program, and it's under the Department of Transportation. And on the website, they said they do have money for new projects. It might be all gone too, but the point is that I'd like to see the staff, actively, take some time to research that. Maybe take 30 minutes, it might take an hour, it might take more or less, but, keep looking for that, because I know there's a lot of organizations that for health reasons and economic growth reasons that they are for an urban trail.
Yeah, I think those are great suggestions. We do actively look for grants, so thank you for those. I wrote them down here. I think having that new Parks and Recreation Master Plan will be really essential for this, because we'll be able to so that's the hard thing with grants, is you have to have a story of why you need it with all the data, and this will provide that, so we can say, okay, we're just gonna plug this over into here and have all the information.
And Shauna, you guys probably already know this, but it was where I first looked was like www.grants.gov.
Yeah.
I figured that.
And typically.
But I know we have good people that write.
Yeah, and
Right,
Jenny is
so-
it's still on her radar, looking for staff. Her and I were talking a little bit today, because I'll update you on my report, but, yeah, so thank you. And anytime you see grants in my way, and if there's something that fits, we'll probably have the information for them, we'll totally apply for them.
And also typically with grants too, it's usually projects that are already approved and in a master plan. So that's why it's vitally important when you do this next master plan, is that we think long-term and think somewhat big, not huge $1 million projects like we're in this master plan, but $200,000, trails, those kind of things that need to be included, thinking 5, 10, 20 years down the road, because we don't know where we're gonna be in 10 years. And money might come up like ARPA funds or CARES fundings, that's a one-time thing, but it can be applied to something that we have in that plan, so. Master planning is very important.
Right, anything else, Jerry?
Thank you for the time.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have items that they want to talk about for old business before we move on?
Lynn has her.
Yes. Yeah, Carmen, I just wanted to say I had sent you an update on the list for Dalton
Okay,
Lake Nature Preserve, and because it still says proposed amenities. So it has the trails and how we want to connect, as well as the other things that were in the original proposal.
okay.
And also I have a question, I don't know who is writing these up. Who are the people that I should be sending this copy to?
Sherry was updating the list that we had before. I updated the most recent version. I'm happy to continue updating it after the meetings and just keep adding to it so that Sherry doesn't have to do that. So you guys can send them to me and I'll just keep adding to the list and send it to Sherry. Or to Erin.
Great.
To add to the agenda each time, or to the packet each time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll get yours added. Thank you, Lynn. All right, does anyone else have any items? Okay, so next up we have the Park and Rec Managers Report.
Awesome, well, I'll try to keep this short and sweet. So Gable Road Community Center, we're just waiting on a few permits to come through so we can finish some ADA upgrades, putting some ramps on the exterior doors on the outside, doing some things with the bathroom stalls inside, making a connector path from the community center to the high school sports fields. The high school will be making a connector coming up, so it'll be nice for the high school students to be able to go that way out to the new sidewalks and all that kind of stuff and have that connectability. Waiting on that, hopefully we'll get that center open sooner than later. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to have a more hard date that we're gonna open that. Campbell Park, I don't know if any of you have been there recently, but the concrete has been poured for the sports courts. So if you're not familiar, it's gonna have one tennis court, one futsal court, which is like an outdoor soccer type of game, and then 8 pickleball courts that are on the futsal and the tennis. So you can only do either pickleball or the other things, and then a basketball court. Today I went there and they're making the rain garden. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but they, as in Public Works, are making a swale there that is basically grading all of the stormwater to go like around, and then it comes in instead of just sitting there. And so it will have like this little flow type thing that goes around into it. If you go and look, it's basically, you'll see the footprint of what that looks like. Our part of the rain garden is we had a Scappoose Bay watershed hold some plants for us that we pick up on Thursday. And then on top of the I guess the berm of the soil and stuff, we're gonna plant native plants on it. And hopefully it will become just a self-sustaining type of rain garden. We're also looking at planting trees. When you first come into Campbell Park on the one side, you know, that's super bare right there. Planting some trees there that also will be self-sustaining because of the moisture that area gets. So the plan for that is to create not a big muddy swampy mess as what's been before, and that's why the basketball hoop or basketball court was moved to a different location. So hopefully it will go as planned, and we're excited about that though. And if anybody wants to come up with us plants, I'll let you know when we have those in and stuff, and we will reach out for that.
So you guys gonna plant trees along this road going into Campbell Park?
So where the Campbell Park sign is there, we're gonna
Like
plant
when
some
you turn on
trees.
Campbell Park.
Yeah, so like behind Sherlock, is it Sherlock's that's there? So behind Sherlock's, like that really bare area on the grass. Yeah, we'll plant a few trees there.
That's where everybody parks.
Well, there's new parking now where they did the sports court. So there's gonna be lined parking all the way down in front of the sports courts now and stuff, so. Yeah, and we don't want people to park there as much as possible because it does get so swampy there, and go there and look, because they won't want to park there with how they're redirecting the storm. Yeah.
Get stuck.
Yeah.
I know they have like softball tournaments there, so we got parking all.
Yeah, so if you go down and look, wherever the gravel is in front of where the sports courts are going is gonna be paved parking, is one of the plans, so.
Take that side of the softball fields and then on the other side, so it's.
It'll be actually lined parking and stuff too, so hopefully that will be good. Let's see, so we had a disc golf tournament and softball tournament this past weekend at McCormick, so lots and lots of folks. I think disc golf had over 200 people signed up for it. The softball had several teams, so there was lots of happenings, a few parties going on there. So McCormick has just been busting out the seams anytime I go there on the weekends. It's a lot. Disc golf is getting used a ton. I've been working with different sports groups and other user groups to see how we can best help them. So I've met with disc golf, I've met with women's softball, and I'm in the process of meeting with adult and then men's softball as well. Met with Howard, so we had a conversation about North Hill Park. I met with Lynn, so we've been, I've been trying to go around and see, what the needs are and how we can best do those. We're working on a small budget, and so figuring out how those items all fit in, and that's why the master plan will be good for when we're doing new budgeting stuff. I came in after the budget was done, and so now I'm starting to work on next year's budget. Let's see, what else do we have? I have a few outstanding grants that I haven't heard back about. I'm sorry, did you say something, Lynn?
Nope.
Maybe some feedback. So I have a $75,000 grant that I applied for after school programming, and then a $1,500 walkability grant that will help with walking groups and such. And then I'm looking at some parks types of stuff. So I think that's it for me. We've had the after school programs going good. We had a little bit of a COVID shutdown with some of the schools, but we moved the program to a different school. And now this week we're reopening again for some of our kiddos that were in other things. We have a ton of programming going on, so you can check out our new rec desk software, which seems really user friendly. It has a calendar, and then we're also onboarding a software for parks for different sort of tasks that we have and upcoming projects and things like that. So that's pretty exciting because we've never had a digital format, so that will be really nice. So we've been in the last 4 months uploaded 2 new softwares, which is a pretty big thing. So Erin over there has really been like thrown into the deep end, like sink or swim, Erin, let's go. So we've been doing a lot of good stuff, I think, for the parks, and I really enjoy working with all of you all, and it's taking us a little bit to figure out, the different dynamics of things, but my phone is always available, my door is open and stuff, and I appreciate working through those things to make our park systems the best they can be. So
Doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
It's just really extraordinary.
it's been, the staff there is wonderful. So Thad retired, so we're down to just 2 full-time park staff right now. And we will be looking into rehiring a third person, but we're working on some details with that. But yeah, they are just phenomenal over there. The rec staff is great, and so it's just a really great thing, but we have a lot of stuff. So if it takes a little while to do a project and stuff, I've been working a lot with Public Works, and we have some concrete stuff that we're looking to do, but it's cheaper getting a big truck instead of little pieces. So we're trying to plan that just right and stuff. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Are there any Halloween events, like trick or treat events that are being planned?
Yeah, so we're gonna just team up this year with the sheriff's office on Halloween. They're having a trunk or treat.
Oh, okay.
There's a few other in town too. I know there's one that's in the main, or not the main, is that called Main Street up there? Like by El Tapatio and
Eaton's Tire is having one on 17th Street between Columbia and St. Helens Street.
Okay.
yeah, they're having a trunk or treat. So our biggest thing is we really try to not duplicate things and really try to partner really well. We did a drive-through boo last year, which was really successful, but the sheriff's office was already doing something, so we just decided instead of creating a whole nother thing, that we would just go in with them and stuff. We are having a turkey trot and November. All the monies for that goes to our youth leadership program, which they've just been having a blast coming up with ideas and stuff. That's a group that meets is it the second or third Friday, Erin?
It's the
Youth leaders, the third Friday, and they're coming up with spaces and safe procedures and stuff for our parks and recreation and have put on a few events. So if anybody ever wants to come talk to them about parks and trails, Jerry, you can talk about the urban trail with them. And, yeah, see, they really like learning about that sort of stuff, and they've been a really great group for that sort of.
We have handouts, right, Carmen?
Yeah. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Okay, we were gonna have mayor's report. Mayor Scholl was gonna be here to give an update instead of Doug, but he is not here, so we will skip past that. And is there anything else for discussion before we adjourn today's meeting? Lynn?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, last month we had talked about the anonymous donation for the parks and the $500 that we had for spraying. And it came to $650 to do the spraying that we had walked in the preserve to accomplish. So after the meeting, someone came forward and is offering $150 so that we can get the spraying done that we wanted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you, Lynn. And Howard?
I thought I'd just update you a little bit, the Watershed Council, leading up to the work party on Saturday, the 6th. They're hoping to still find time between now and then to spray the 5th Street right-of-way trail. Tentative she was talking around the 18th, but it may be a rainy day, so she's trying to find a day when it won't be raining, because that's where they want to plant about 200 plants on that one work party in that area. And so there's that. Once again, our work party is afternoon. I don't know if anybody, if you know any place you could put one of these up. We have little flyers you could post somewhere or something, or take one home so you remember you want.
I think you'll want to.
So the more we publicize, the more work we can get into the park in that day. And then just a heads up, next April work party, we're actually going to do on the 2nd Saturday instead of, we've always said the 1st Saturday, but we have a conflict with another big huge plant, so we're involved in, so it's going to make it hard to, they can only do it the 1st Saturday. So that's all I have. We discussed everything forgot Bill earlier.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? Okay, just a reminder that there's no November meeting, so our next meeting will be in December. And that's all I've got, so meeting adjourned. Cool.
I don't know how to turn this off.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you guys.
Thank you.
What are you gonna do? Dog parks. Go out to end and work out. They're pretty cool.
They're amazing. They're nice.
Well, we need so many things.
Like you know, the urban trail, what's for the urban trail?